lady broke to my.
Yin and Yang, an ancient philosophy explaining that opposites are connected and necessary. Where there's light, there's darkness. Where there's fear, there's courage. And one cannot exist without the other, as seen inside the symbol itself. Meaning good and evil are never completely separate. Something psychologist Carl Jung described as the shadow. The shadow is portrayed as the darker side of the human psyche. The anger, the fear, the instincts that we try to bury. And nowhere is this idea illustrated more clearly than in Batman Begins. Because Bruce Wayne doesn't become Batman by just destroying his darkness. He becomes Batman not just by accepting his shadow, but by turning it into a symbol.
Rachel, all this inside, I am more.
However, it doesn't just start like this. You see, there are two paths that a person can follow: suppression or integration. You see, Carl Jung stated to confront a person with their shadow is to show them their own light. By suppressing their darker instincts, most people end up being controlled by their own shadow without even realizing it. The shadow simply moves into the unconscious, where it begins influencing your behavior. Because the person that refuses to acknowledge them consciously, those feelings inside, they begin to leak out indirectly. A person might believe they are calm or moral, but then the shadow expresses itself through sudden bursts of anger, passive aggression, cruelty, or harsh judgment towards others, destructive habits, and irrational fears or paranoia. One of the most common ways the shadow controls someone is through projection. Instead of recognizing darker traits within themselves, people unconsciously see those traits in others. Someone who hides selfish impulses may see everyone else as greedy. Someone who fears their own weaknesses may harshly judge others for the same flaws. In this way, the shadow shapes how you see the world. And this is what the shadow did to Bruce Wayne. It consumed him all his life until he learned to embrace it.
As a man, I'm flesh and blood. I can be ignored, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol, I can be incorruptible. I can be everlasting.
As a kid, Bruce left the theater with his parents before they were robbed and murdered in an alleyway by Joe Chill, with a young Bruce seeing it all happen in front of his eyes. And this trauma creates the fear and anger that drives him for years, along with the time that he fell in a well in front of his house with bats swarming him, and having nightmares about this moment also made him deeply afraid of bats. His unresolved shadow manifests itself as vengeance. Now an adult, 14 years after his parents' murder, he comes back to Gotham after attending Princeton for the court hearing of Joe Chill, the man who he has been plotting against, who his entire life purpose is centered by getting revenge against him. He isn't just there to see if Joe will be released from prison early. He's there to take things into his own hands and avenge his parents. Bringing a small revolver and hiding it in his sweater, planning to kill the man that killed his parents. But before he can shoot him, someone else does it first, killing Joe after being sent by a man named Falcone.
We don't need to see this.
I do.
And it's in the car ride after seeing Joe die where Bruce must make a decision to either follow suppression or integration. As his childhood best friend and love interest, Rachel Dawkins, confronts him on what it means to have revenge.
Maybe I should be thanking them.
You don't mean that.
What if I do, Rachel? My parents deserve justice.
Well, you're not talking about justice, you're talking about revenge.
Sometimes they're the same.
No, they're never the same, Bruce. Justice is about harmony, revenge is about you making yourself feel better.
And that is perfectly illustrated when Rachel takes a sharp turn to the lower streets of Gotham. In the car, Bruce explained that he should be thanking Falcone for sending the hitman and killing Joe Chill, something he was gonna do himself. But then Rachel shows Bruce that while Falcone may not have killed his parents, he is contributing to the downfall of Gotham and creates new Joe Chills every single day, destroying what Bruce Wayne's parents stood for. And once Bruce explains the truth, showing Rachel his revolver, confessing that all these years he wanted to kill Joe, that he's not a good person.
Your father would be ashamed of you.
This scene signifies how at this point Bruce Wayne is not a hero. He's a man being controlled by his shadow. It's this moment right here, once Bruce steps out of the car after his conversation with Rachel, that he realizes the difference between justice and revenge, knowing that killing Joe Chill wouldn't make him any better than Joe. Both would just be killing another human out of selfishness. His anger, his fear, his vengeance, Bruce decides that the path he will choose is not suppression, but integration. Taking one last look at his revolver before throwing it in the ocean, deciding that he will no longer let his shadow control him. This is the first step in the path of integration, recognizing that the shadow exists. This means admitting things about yourself that are uncomfortable. In Bruce's case, his anger, his fear, his thirst for revenge, he's unconsciously projecting himself. He feels insecure and didn't confront himself to recognize that, which led him to believe that the only way he could feel whole again was by killing the man who killed his parents. Many people avoid this step entirely because it challenges the image they have of themselves. Once someone recognizes their shadow, the next step is understanding it. Instead of pretending those darker instincts don't exist, the person begins asking these questions. Why do I feel this anger? What am I afraid of? What drives my impulses? This stage requires honesty, and it's the moment when someone realizes that their darker emotions are not random. They're often responses to pain, trauma, fear, or unmet desires. By understanding the shadow, a person begins to bring it into consciousness. Bruce decides to visit Falcone and prove to himself, as well as to the rest of the world, that he isn't scared. Even when Falcone points a gun at him, Bruce tells him he's not afraid.
You're Bruce Wayne, the Prince of Gotham. You'd have to go 1,000 miles to meet someone who didn't know your name. So don't come down here with your anger, trying to prove something to yourself. This is a world you never understand, and you always fear what you don't understand.
Falcone then tells Bruce that just because his parents got shot doesn't mean he knows what it's like to be on the other side. This is when it clicks for Bruce. You fear what you don't understand. And so what does he do immediately after this? He hops on a shipping boat and begins a 7-year-long journey, giving away the cash in his pocket and clothing to a homeless man in exchange for his jacket.
It's a nice gun.
This journey for Bruce was him choosing to integrate his shadow and face years of trauma, fear, and anger to live among the criminals so he can understand them. He explains how the first time he had to steal to not go hungry, he lost many assumptions about the simple nature of right and wrong, the fear before you commit a crime, and the thrill you get when you're successful. Bruce traveled the world to face all these hardships despite the fact that he's a billionaire and could have just been in Gotham not caring about the people on the lower end. But even through all that, understanding their minds, emotions, and actions, Bruce made sure to never become one of them. With this heist often including him stealing from his own company, Wayne Industries. However, when joining a group called the League of Shadows, his mentor, Ra's al Ghul, who goes by a fake alias of Henry Duckhart, explains to Bruce that a criminal's mind is not complicated and what he really fears is inside himself.
You fear your own power. You fear your anger. The drive to do great or terrible things. Now, you must journey inwards.
And this is the exact moment that Bruce takes the journey inwards. He breathes in the substance Ra's al Ghul gives him, which is supposed to force him to confront his biggest fear, and instantly images of bats and him as a kid begin to flash in his head. And while being in this heightened state of fear, he must go through like a sort of ritual where he is randomly attacked while walking through the aisle before opening a box where he is told to become one with the darkness. After this, after being confronted in the face with his biggest fear, Bruce learns that instead of running and suppressing his darkness, he must embrace it. This allows him to once again go down the aisle, but this time, instead of his fear making him anxious and paranoid, it helps him become ultra aware and focused.
You cannot leave any sign.
I haven't.
Impressive.
Bruce controlling his fear and embracing it lets him be able to accomplish this. It's the journey inwards, and it's something that every person can take in their own lives. Now, you don't need to go on an expedition where you travel the world and do crime and fight with swords for 7 years, no. but you do need to be real with yourself and take a look inside of your mind and spirit. What are you afraid of? What angers you? What are you insecure about? At first, you might get that blockage in your brain like, oh, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not insecure about anything. But deep down, we all know that it's not true. It may take a bit of time, a bit of reflection, but eventually you will be able to then understand yourself. Going back to step 1, which is to become aware of the shadow and then admit it is a part of you. Moving on to step 3, you then analyze it. Ask yourself why. Why do you feel this fear? Why do you want this revenge or recognition? This will reveal what truly drives you. Just like how revenge drove Bruce to want to kill Joe before he moved on to step 4, which is to take control of it. Bruce decides to go on this conquest, train with the League of Shadows, and spend years understanding the criminal mind. And by confronting the shadow, he's able to direct its energy. Anger turns into discipline, aggression into courage, obsession turns into mastery. He turns his thirst for revenge into a mission to protect Gotham. After purging his fear, Bruce is told he is ready to lead these men and become a member of the League of Shadows. But first, he has to demonstrate his commitment to justice, one in which Bruce does not take part in. He is ordered to execute a criminal, but Bruce refuses, saying that the man should be tried.
I'm no executioner.
Your compassion is a weakness your enemies will not share.
That's why it's so important. It separates us from them.
As a leader of the League of Shadows, his mission would be to destroy Gotham. The League of Shadows believe it's become a breeding ground for evil and injustice, that it's a city beyond saving and must be wiped clean like the times of Constantinople or Rome. So Bruce takes the sword and turns it away from the criminal, causing the place to go up in flames, sticking to his belief that killing criminals doesn't create more justice, it creates more death. Just like what caused Bruce to even look inwards when Rachel confronted him, she explained how even if he had killed Joe Chill, it wouldn't have changed anything. His parents would still be dead, Gotham would still be corrupt. This is Batman's famous core rule. If he starts killing criminals, he becomes the judge, the jury, he becomes the executioner. And the difference between hero and villain disappears. Ra's al Ghul believes corruption must be destroyed, and Bruce believes corruption must be fought and redeemed. Bruce realizes something very powerful. Fear can be used 2 ways. Criminals use fear to control people. Batman uses fear against criminals. Instead of becoming a killer, he becomes a symbol that criminals fear. In fact, Ra's al Ghul himself represents Bruce's shadow self. If he had let his rage fully control him, Bruce would be just like him, believing that these criminals must be destroyed. But it's Rachel who challenges his worldview and causes him to even go on this journey. After his fight, Bruce still goes and saves Ra's al Ghul from death before meeting Alfred on a plane and going back to Gotham. On the plane, him and Alfred have a conversation about how as a man he can be ignored, but as a symbol, he can be everlasting.
What symbol? Something elemental, something terrifying.
When Bruce returns to Gotham, he sees a bat in his room, and it reminds him of the well, and this is when he takes the 5th and final step of the shadow self. Bruce is swarmed by hundreds of bats all around him, the thing that has scared him all his life. He is now embracing it and becoming one with them, integrating that darkness, that fear that plagued him all his life, that's been controlling him all this time. He literally becomes his own worst fear and uses that fear against criminals in order to protect Gotham, becoming the Batman.
I swear to God.
Swear to me!
One of the first things Bruce does as Batman is save Rachel. Falcone sent his thugs to track her after Dr. Crane, who is also known as Scarecrow, goes to him and tells him that, he's got a problem. Because Rachel Dawes knows that Dr. Crane is corrupt, and so they want to take her out. But luckily, Batman is there in time, making this the first time Bruce has seen Rachel in over 7 years, even though obviously Rachel doesn't know it's him. And after bringing Falcone and his men down, it looks like he's gonna finally be facing prison time and that justice may be coming to Gotham.
Nice coat. Thanks.
However, moving forward, Alfred explains to him that living his double life, he still has to be like Bruce Wayne, a billionaire playboy who just does things. Because the non-existent social life combined with random injuries he gets from fighting crime will quickly lead to suspicion. And this is seen as a sort of metaphor on the path of integration. See, becoming your shadow and embracing it like how Bruce does with Batman doesn't mean that that's the end all be all. The inward journey is a sophisticated one, and it goes the same for being Batman, because if that's all Bruce Wayne did was only be Batman at night and never be himself, then he would just be consumed by it the same way he was consumed by his shadow. Deep down, he still hasn't faced everything, not yet. There's still one big thing Bruce has to confront, and that's about Rachel.
Job's getting worse.
Can't change the world on your own.
What choice do I have? When you're too busy swimming.
Rachel isn't just his love interest, but she represents Bruce's humanity and moral center. Basically, the part of him that prevents Batman from completely consuming him. So the thing Bruce hasn't confronted isn't just how he wants Rachel obviously in his life as his romantic partner, but also his ability to live as Bruce Wayne and not just Batman. Rachel represents the last connection Bruce has to the life he could have lived, a normal one. And as long as she exists, Bruce Wayne still exists too. She's the entire reason he decided to take this path of integration. She is the one who shows him he is consumed by his shadow and feelings of revenge, fear, and anger. But if Bruce ever loses that, then Batman might be the only thing left.
Inside, I am more.
Deep down, you may still be that same bright kid you used to be. But it's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you.
Earlier in the movie, Bruce thinks that what he feels inside is what defines him. Because of that, he believes that he actually might be a bad person deep down. But Rachel challenges that idea. She's basically telling him, your inner darkness doesn't define you, your choices do. After this, Batman runs into Dr. Crane, aka Scarecrow, for the first time, and is badly affected by his hallucinogen, leaving him unconscious for 2 days until Lucius Fox arrives and develops him an antidote. It also happens to be Bruce's birthday, and Rachel shows up to give him happy wishes. However, when she tells Bruce her boss has been missing and she's going to be heading to see Falcone to find out what happened, he knows that he's got to follow her. Rachel confronts Dr. Crane about Falcone's ruling that he is mentally ill, and so he says, okay, very well, and proceeds to bring her down to the basement where Crane and his crew develop the hallucinogen drug they use on people, and then he uses it on her, giving Rachel not long to live. However, of course, Bruce shows up to save her.
He's here. Who? The Batman.
He gives her an antidote as well as another one that she can give to Sergeant Jim Gordon when she's back home. Bruce shows up late to his own birthday party but is confronted by Alfred on what this Batman is doing to him.
When you said that it wasn't about thrill seeking,
It's not.
what would you call that?
Damn good television.
You're getting lost inside this monster of yours.
I'm using this monster to help other people just like my father did.
His birthday is short-lived though, as there was an unexpected guest, being none other than Ra's al Ghul. The man Bruce saved is back, and he plans to continue on his conquest of destroying Gotham.
I watched him die.
But is Ra's al Ghul immortal? Are his methods supernatural?
Or cheap parlor tricks to conceal your true identity, Ra's.
Ra's al Ghul explains to Bruce how the League of Shadows had destroyed cities beyond saving for thousands of years, from sending boats with plague rats to burning down London. They have been at this for millenniums, I think that's the word, right? And Gotham is next. They've infiltrated every level of its infrastructure. The Wayne house is then set on fire and Ra's leaves Bruce there to die, until Alfred comes back and uses a golf club to knock out the League of Shadows members guarding the door, coming in and saving Bruce just in time. Bruce is distraught by the fact that everything his family had built, a house that was there for 6 generations, is all gone. But what keeps him going inside is the fact that Alfred never gives up on him.
What have I done, Alfred? Everything my family, my father built.
Why do we fall, sir? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Batman comes out one more time, and the League of Shadows deploys the hallucinogenic gas everywhere, planning to have Gotham tear itself apart through fear. Rachel finds herself surrounded by criminals with a kid in her arms until Batman comes to save them. And this is when Bruce Wayne fully completes the integration of his shadow and is no longer chained to any shackles.
Wait! You could die. At least tell me your name.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Bruce?
Bruce goes to take down Ra's al Ghul once and for all, saving Gotham. After it's over, Bruce takes back control of his company, and Rachel tells him he's sorry for what she said the day Joe Chill died. But Bruce tells her that the things she said were true things. At that time, he was just a coward with a gun, and there's a difference between revenge and justice. Throughout Bruce Wayne's journey in Batman Begins, he isn't just learning how to fight criminals, he's confronting something much deeper. His shadow. The anger, the fear, the darkness created the night his parents died never truly disappeared. But instead of letting it consume him, he transforms it into something greater. Batman isn't Bruce Wayne escaping who he is. It's Bruce Wayne mastering the darkness inside of him and turning it into a symbol. And maybe that's why the story of Batman resonates with so many people, because everyone has a shadow. The real question isn't whether it exists or not, it's what you decide to do with it. Batman Begins is one of my favorite movies of all time, and let me know if you guys want to see more videos like this, or if you want me to go over the rest of the Dark Knight trilogy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out this video popped up on the screen right here. Goodbye, man.